Welcome to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
The Saints are at Tampa on Sunday, 12 o'clock on CBS. The Bucs are coming off a win over the Cardinals and 2-0 in the division. The Saints are 1-2, looking for their second NFC South win. Head coach Kellen Moore said Friday, running back Alvin Kamara, right tackle Taliese Fuaga, and safety Justin Reed will be out this weekend. Wide receiver Chris Olave is questionable. Look for rookie running back Devin Neal to make his second straight start, and wide receiver Devon Bailey to have another bigger game. For today's guests, we're getting a breakdown on the Bucs and looking at the quarterbacks in this matchup from Bucs team reporter Phillips and CBS analyst Trent Green. Austin Pasco, our senior manager of youth football development, has an interview with Robert Valdez from St. Aug for our LHSAA semifinals playoff coaches spotlight. Let's start with Trent Green, who is on the call for this weekend's game, and then hear from Tampa team reporter Phillips for the Bucs perspective. Trent, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's great to have you since you're going to be on the call, and I know you've dove into what this game is going to come down to, and you can tell me who's going to win, right?
I wish the NFL was that simple, wouldn't it? Because, it seems like every week, if you look at especially how this season is unfolded, it's pretty remarkable how close the games are, how sometimes it follows the lines of what you think it's going to, how injuries play a big part in it, and then how momentum, right? How momentum just kind of gets rolling for one team or another, both positively and negatively. And I think that's why the NFL is what it is. Every week it's such great theater and drama and amazement that it keeps everybody in it.
Yeah, people always talk about you're going to have to throw out the records when it comes to division play because there's so much familiarity between the two. You see them twice a year, so obviously the Saints, this is the second time they're seeing the Bucs. First time around, a lot of different people were on the field. Different quarterback was playing for the Saints. How much can you take from the first matchup and then even year to year?
It's interesting that you say that because I was thinking the same thing. I went back and I was watching the other game and then having the advantage of talking to both teams and both coaching staffs and a number of players. I asked them that question, like, how much can you take from that? And most of them were along the lines of, not a whole lot. I mean, you have an idea of what the coordinators are going to call, what they want to do, kind of what their philosophies are. You look at the history of the coordinators and you kind of get an idea of what they want to do. But then you look at personnel, different quarterbacks, as you said, injuries along the offensive line, injuries to receivers or receivers now gone because of trades or other things. So it is quite a bit different than the first time they matched up. But I do think if you look at the blueprint for both what these teams want to do, the Buccaneers have leaned heavily on the run game. I think the Saints are going to have to try and do the same thing. I think it's going to be a run-heavy type of game. Which team has success stopping the run and forcing the other team into more of a one-dimensional type game is going to have a big part in how this thing unfolds. Some of that comes down to the offensive line and the ability of them to hold the line as far as the pressure that both these defenses want to bring and the type of players that both these defenses have. So. It may be one of those, if it wasn't for TV commercials, it may be one of those quick games in terms of how fast it'll fly along. But yeah, we in TV, we like to get our commercials in. That kind of pays the bill. So, but I do see there are some similarities between the two teams in terms of what they want to try and get done in this game.
Sure. Both offensive lines have been through it this season. There's been multiple injuries to the Bucs. It seems like they're trending in a little bit better direction there. Saints, again, going to be dealing with some people out this weekend. So the run game, establishing that has been a point of emphasis and something the Saints have struggled to do effectively this season. They've had to rely on the quarterback play a lot, especially because they've been down early in games. They went with Spencer Rattler to start the season. It's going to be the fifth straight start now for Tyler Shuck. What have you seen in the way that he is leading this team over the last month?
I really like what I've seen from Tyler. Honestly, I didn't know a lot about him prior to getting ready this week. Hadn't watched a lot of him in college. But now after looking at it, I can understand why they have such high expectations for him. He possesses a lot of qualities that you're looking for in a quarterback. He's got the good size, so if you're looking for a pocket type guy, he's a lot more mobile than I was expecting. You initially look, say, 6'5", 220. He's not going to be that mobile. He can move around pretty well. I was surprised by that. He has a big arm, which I think a lot of people know. I was impressed with his. If you take out the 2 games that he came in spot duty at the end, and you just look at the 4 starts, he's completing 68% of his passes. 2 of those were around 70%. He's done a good job in terms of protecting the football. A lot of times, I don't want to call him young because he's not a young, but he's inexperienced when it comes to as far as just being a rookie and seeing what NFL defenses like to do. So the fact that he's only got the 3 interceptions, he hasn't taken a ton of sacks the last 2 weeks. He's taken more sacks than he had previously, with 5 last week against Miami. But I think he's done a good job. And I think the trajectory of what they want to do with him and how they want to continue to grow, there's some positive things there that you can build upon.
Yeah. How much weight do you put on the health of the offensive line and the weapons that you have around you in evaluating a quarterback?
A lot. I put a lot into that. I'm one of those guys that when you start talking about Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I always make it a point to a guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback because he's got a good offensive line and he's got good weapons around him and he's got the ability to spread the ball around and he's got people that he can target. Yes, you have to have a quarterback. You have to have a quarterback that can lead. You have to have a quarterback that has the intangibles. You have to have a quarterback that's accurate, can read defenses, can get you into the right play, all those kinds of things. But the majority of quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame, if you go through there and you look at the talent they had around him, that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, you also have the opposite side of that. You have a lot of quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round or come in with high expectations, whether it be through a trade or through free agency. And if you don't surround them with the right amount of talent or the right experience or the right coaching or the right system, there's lots of things that can ruin a promising career as well. So I think that's the thing that's going to be important for the Saints moving forward. I think that's going to be, Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore and their staffs getting together. We all know what happened in terms of, trading away Rashid Shaheed. Mm-hmm. Brandon Cooks is no longer there. Olave trying to keep him healthy. Kamara obviously is an impact guy when he is healthy. It's trying to keep him healthy. You mentioned the offensive line. So I think that's a big part of it. I think Tyler has the ability to be that type of quarterback, but you need to surround him with the pieces that's going to make him successful. And I anticipate them doing that.
Yeah, and when you look at the opponent this weekend and the Bucs and Baker Mayfield, there was so much talk at the beginning of the season as an MVP season for him, and kind of fell off, but I think it can be attributed to the injuries to some of his receivers and the running backs that, he didn't have as many options, and it's harder to do a lot without a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
The last time we had the Buccaneers earlier this season, our crew did. We had them up in Seattle, and that was a big shootout, a big 38-35 shootout with the Seahawks. And that was right when you mentioned Baker and MVP. That was right when that MVP chant was really kind of going around because what he was doing, he had brought them back to some late heroic wins that they were able to pull off. And then obviously the numbers were there to back it up. But since then, some injuries to the offensive line, especially left tackle Tristan Wirf. He's missed some games. He was back. Whether or not he plays this week remains to be seen. Missing Mike Evans is huge. Godwin is huge. Those are your 2 main guys. Bucky Irving's missed some time, but he got back last week in terms of the running game. Evans practiced this week, but I saw the Buccaneers announce that they're not gonna have him play this week. So I think as they start to get healthy, I think Baker's going to do better, and I think that offense is going to do better. You have to also remember Baker's been dealing with a left shoulder AC sprain. Mm-hmm. I know it's not his throwing shoulder, which is kind of what Joe Flacco was dealing with when he got to Cleveland or to Cincinnati. So it's a little bit different on your non-throwing shoulder, but when it comes to big throws or ripping it down the field, you really need that left side of your body to be able to pull through to get the velocity. So I don't know how well he's able to do that. I know it affects him some in the running game too, just listening to his press conferences and what he said about dealing with that injury. So it's that time of year. Mm-hmm. Everybody's banged up, and it's who's gonna get through it the best and who's gonna get healthy fast enough.
When you're playing against Mayfield and his ability to extend plays and use his legs, like you alluded to, where does your focus start when trying to defend him or limit what he can do?
I think the first thing you have to do is Baker is the guy that's proven throughout his college career and even in the NFL, he wants to go deep, right? He wants the big play. I mean, that's just part of his game, and he's shown that throughout his career, both collegiately and in the NFL. When he uses his legs and breaks the pocket, when he's in the pocket, a lot of it is timing type of throws. That's really what the NFL has become, is the timing throws to get it out of your hands quickly. When that breaks down, the quarterbacks that have had the most success are the ones that can extend plays with their legs while still maintaining and keeping their eyes upfield, not necessarily taking off and running. There's obviously several quarterbacks in the league that have a great deal of success running the football, but the guys that tend to have more success are keeping their eyes up the field, extending plays, and then when the defense has to cover that long and plays break down, that's when the big plays happen. So I think when the first thing you come with defending Baker is you need to, when the pocket breaks down, first off, don't let him out of the pocket, but if he does get out of the pocket, you need to make sure you don't give up the big home run because he is going to look deep first, just because I think that's his personality.
Yeah, it's an area that I think that Tyler Shough has gotten better in his decision-making, his command, his movement in the pocket, and when it starts to break down. I don't know how much you have watched previous games, but just of late, have you noticed Shough's ability to do that?
Yeah, I do. And that's what I brought up earlier is just I was surprised by, number one, his mobility, being as big as he is, that he's as mobile as he is. I think it's important as an inexperienced quarterback, you're looking for completions, right? You're looking to stay on the field. I know the Saints have had a hard time in terms of time of possession and converting in third downs and keeping the clock and maintaining the football. When your team is dealing with those types of things, as much as you want to push the ball down the field, sometimes you just got to find completions and keep your guys on the field and try and sustain a drive. The other part of it is game situation dictates, okay, we're at that part of the game. I have to force some things up the field. I have to start pushing the ball up the field and get away from maybe what the initial game plan was or what you would normally think of in the first half. So I have seen him get better with that. As I said, I think he's doing a really good job protecting the football, which is important. I think when you look at what the Saints defense has done this year, it's pretty amazing the takeaways that they have, but the number of multiple takeaway games. They have 7 games this year where they have multiple takeaways on defense, and that's number 2 in the NFL. So if you have a defense that's taking the ball away and giving you good field position, you've got to be able to convert that into points. And I think that's another important part of it is red zone production. Right now, that isn't good enough. They have to get down there, and when they do get down there, they have to get touchdowns. And so I think all of that will continue to grow as Tyler becomes more comfortable with it. But to your direct question, I do see Tyler getting better at it, and I think all of that comes with more and more experience.
I've been seeing kind of around the league some people that cover a variety of teams and players saying that they think that Tyler Shough could be the best quarterback to come out of this draft class, maybe performing the best if you kind of look at his statistics. Even Mark Schlereth said it this week as well. Have you compared the rookies or seen a few others play already?
I haven't really done a comparison of them just because I don't know as far as the sample size, right? He's got 4 starts under his belt. Like I said, I am impressed with his completion percentage and the way he's able to protect the football, because as a young quarterback, that's always difficult to do. But as far as comparing him with the other rookies, I really haven't done that. There are some there are some good young quarterbacks that are out there, not necessarily rookies, but you see what Drake May is doing up in New England. Look at the improvement that Drake May made from year one to year two. It is significant. Now, they surrounded him with a bunch of talent, and what New England did was a little bit outside the box of what the Patriots have done in the past. They spent a bunch of money in free agency and brought in guys, and they firmed up the offensive line. They obviously got a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator, but they went out and got a Stephon Diggs, and the pieces that are around him. Now all of a sudden you do a comparison between rookie year and second year for Drake May. It's significant. And so I think the building blocks need to be put in place. I think as you continue to see Tyler grow and as you continue to see him get experience and gain understanding of what Kellen Moore wants to get done offensively, I do think that the potential is there for him to have a lot of long-term success.
Yeah. You said you thought both of these teams were going to try to establish a run game. What do you think the team that wins will do the best?
Well, I think it comes down. I just said a little bit ago about time of possession and keeping the football and getting first downs, that kind of thing. If you go back to the first game, it really wasn't like it was a complete defensive game. But what was determined was the turnovers.
Right.
The Buccaneers were +3 in turnovers, but they only had 212 yards of offense. I had to write that down. I was like, wait a second. I'm like, wait, you won a football game with 200 yards of offense? So the Saints did a really good job with their defensive game plan and what they were able to do. So on the other side of it, the Saints only had 275 yards of offense. So it's that's why I say it. I think if you look at the first game, neither team wants to give up big plays. They want to keep things in front. So when you take away the big plays, you have to, if you're the offense, you have to sustain drives, and that's getting conversions and that kind of thing. So the run game on first and second down, if you have success with that, you can get some play action pass and take advantage of things. But if not, it's just going to be a grinded out kind of game that I think a lot of people, including myself, are anticipating.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me and talking a little bit about the quarterbacks and this matchup coming up this weekend. It was great having you on.
All right. I appreciate it. Yeah. Look forward to the game this weekend.
Yeah. And we look forward to hearing you on the call. So thank you. Casey, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's great to have you. This is the first time I've had you on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I know our teams aren't supposed to like each other, but I'm a big fan of yours. So why, we can still hang out and be friends.
Exactly. I likewise. So I'm glad to have you on the podcast. We can talk a little bit about this game coming up. It's the rematch for the Saints and the Bucs. And the first one, a lot of it came down to turnovers that the Bucs are able to force in that one. How has the team changed from the first time that we saw them? Maybe players that are getting a bigger role because of injuries prior, a couple other key components that we should be focusing in on this time around.
Yeah, the injury situation has been absolutely wild for the Bucs this year. And so thinking about how long ago we played you guys, I'm like, man, so much has happened. I feel like we've all aged a decade since that game, because we've had about 12,000 different O-line combinations. And we also, of course, lost, a majority of our starting offensive weapons at different points that, we've been without Mike Evans for a very long time, which he now just got to return to the practice field this week. But right before you and I got on here, Todd Bowles says he is not going to be playing this Sunday against you guys. And then Chris Godwin just returned recently after missing a lot of time. And it looks like he might be in kind of back to true Chris form, because when we last faced you guys, he's come off multiple big injuries. And so he now looks like he's really, truly back to fully who he is. We were without Bucky Irving for a long time, but now he is back. And so fortunately for us, maybe unfortunately for you guys, we're definitely getting healthier kind of at the right time, but not going to be quite full strength, because same thing, Jalen McMillan got hurt before the season, so he wasn't in there last time we played you guys. But Mike and Jalen both came back to practice, but aren't going to be playing this Sunday. And then Tristan Wirfs was listed as questionable. That would be a huge blow to the offensive line if he's not able to go. So really, that's been the story for us all years: who's available and who's not. And we've been able to make it work regardless. But that's the big story.
What about an update on quarterback Baker Mayfield? Because he was dealing with that sprained AC joint in his shoulder, obviously was able to play last game, but how have you seen it affect him, or will it for Sunday's game?
Yeah, it's been amazing how much Baker's running ability has become a factor for our offense, that he is one of the most efficient quarterbacks at getting third down conversions with his legs. And we were all a little worried of, even though he was going to play, was he going to have to take that part of his game out? Because he'd actually just not run at all the few games before it because of a different injury. But it looked like not only did he play, but he actually was able to scramble a few different times. He just slid a little bit quicker than the typical Baker would, who likes to throw a stiff arm every now and then and act like he's an O lineman. So I think that with a whole other week to go, like, Baker is still going to be Baker. He might slide a little bit sooner. He might go out of bounds where he might not have otherwise. But it looked like he was still able to throw decent ball and run a little bit when he needed to. So thankfully, I think he was much more of his typical self than we anticipated.
With his ability to use his legs, you mentioned how he has been the one that's been the primary third down converter. How is the run game right now, and how much are the Bucs using it versus the pass?
Yeah, the run game is now at a pretty good place. I think that, again, it was wild for a while there of, offensive linemen just out all over the place, and then no Bucky Irving for a while. Considering those things, I think I've been incredibly impressed with the way they've been able to still have a run game through all of that. And we're really fortunate. We have three really good backs who, like, truly, I think any one of those three could be a starter on a lot of different teams. And so when Bucky was out, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, all three of our backs have very unique skill sets. And so it just kind of is more like it shifts what each running back is going to do and some of the types of runs that you might see.
Mhm.
And Rashad White is a great receiving running back as well. So now that they're all three back, and especially if Tristan Wirfs plays, that is a huge help, because, man, there was a couple weeks ago when I think we played Buffalo. Tristan threw a block in the secondary that made me just feel bad for the DB even trying to handle that. And so, and Chris Godwin actually is a huge blocking wide receiver in the run game. And so a lot of guys said that everyone was just talking about missing his receiving, but truly his blocking in the run game is a massive part of it as well. So I think that we're about to see this run game be fully clicking on all cylinders, potentially this Sunday, where, again, this last week was Bucky's first game back, and he looked like, we were all kind of wondering, again, is he going to be his full self? And he looked like it. So I think this could be, one of our better showings all year of just who all's available and healthy to contribute to it.
Yeah, love that for us. Thanks.
Yeah, happy for you.
But the run game has been something that the Saints have been trying to emphasize and consistently go to throughout the season. And for some reason, it's just not been as productive as they'd wanted it to be. So that is definitely an area of focus, at least for the Saints offensively. When you look at the Bucs defense, where are their strengths there?
Run defense. So sorry about that for y'all. Their run defense has definitely always been Todd Bowles' like bread and butter. Like, he is the stop the run first. It helps that we have Vita Vea up there. In my opinion, that's our game plan, is how to stop the run, have Vita Vea on your team. So it's definitely been an area of strength, as compared to maybe sometimes the weaknesses on the defense this year have been giving up a few chunk plays in the pass game or over the middle to, some tight ends every now and then. And if you look at our yardage on games of rushing yards given up, there have been a few that look not great on paper, but it was like 179-yard run that we gave up, or two 40-something yard runs or something, where there have been one or two plays that they're not gap sound or they aren't in their alignment, that's been their big issue, is just giving up a few huge plays. Otherwise, they've been able to hold a lot of really great running backs to not a lot. So yeah, I would say defensively, the strength has been stopping the run for the most part. But overall, they've done a pretty decent job, other than just some of these big chunk plays where just a miscommunication happens.
Mm-hmm. What's been the conversation like this week about the Saints from the players or coaching staff?
I think a big part of it is the fact that the Bucs are, like a lot of teams, very back heavy on the division games, and looking at the playoff picture, how important winning the division is for the Bucs playoff situation now. And so 4 of our last 5 are against division opponents. And this is the beginning of that stretch. And it's also the fact that we, play you guys on Sunday, and then we turn right around and play the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. So this is a very important 2-game stretch. And I think that recognizing that it's not even necessarily just about, it's the Saints, it's the division rival. It's understanding that these games feel like the thing you have to win to get that playoff spot that you're wanting. So even though we had a bit of a stretch of a 3-game losing streak, got that win against the Cardinals. I still think it wasn't as clean of a game as they'd like. No wins are ever bad wins, but I think they would have liked it to be a little bit more decisive. And so I think this is now the message this week is really playing the football that they know they should, and focusing on just that division, the championship you're trying to get for the playoffs.
Yeah, the game definitely could have been won by a wider margin. There were a couple touchdowns, one that got called back for OPI, a drop ball in the end zone. So opportunities were there. This game, it's a division matchup. As you mentioned, they're all extremely important. You kind of have to throw out how everybody's been playing and focus in on playing clean ball, executing, not letting those penalties creep up. And we've talked a lot about starting fast and making sure that you're not playing from behind and having to go away from what your game plan might be because of that. And that's definitely something that, again, has been a focus for this team. When you look at this matchup and what it may come down to from your perspective, what do you think is some of the things to focus in on?
I think it's winning that turnover battle. That like you pointed out, the last matchup, that was everything. That was the game right there, was just how many the Bucs were creating, and that's just been a point of emphasis for this team all year, all off season. Of like Coach Bowles has said 1 trillion times, we have got to turn the ball over. We need ball hawks. We need people going to the ball. Like, that has been our mantra, and it's definitely gotten better from last season, that you've seen that emphasis has made it a more important thing. And I think I've seen that since Shuck became y'all starter, that he's thrown interceptions in all but maybe one of those starts. And I think that that's going to be something they're going to be really focusing on, is trying to create those turnovers and opportunities, knowing that, look, I mean, whatever the records are, we know how these two teams play each other. Like, it's probably going to come down to the wire, and especially the way you guys have played, here at our stadium. And so I think they know that if you really want to, like you said, get out to an early start, that they've got to really bring some pressure that could hopefully force some turnovers, whether it's interceptions or force fumbles, however they come, knowing that they need to have the ball in their hands a little bit more often is going to be a big part of it.
Yeah. Since it is an outdoor stadium, we've been unfortunately having to practice indoors all week because of the monsoon that's been happening the past 2 days straight. They did get outside on Wednesday, the first day that they were able to practice outdoors, but this weekend, Sunday, what's it looking like? What should we expect weather-wise? Because they did see they're possible for some showers in the forecast, but it looks later in the day.
Yeah, so here's what I'll tell you about Tampa weather. This many days out, Lord knows what's going to happen. Like, the rain can come, the rain may not. It's always so funny that I try to plan outdoor activities here, and I look at the weather 1,000 times, and then you never really know. Definitely, I think it looks better than it did earlier in the week. Like, maybe that rain is shifting a little bit later in the day, which would be nice. But I think there's definitely a chance that, there could be some perspiration. We don't talk about anything that might cause a delay. We don't say those words,
Yes.
Just that as long as it's only rain and that's it, we're going to be okay. But yeah, there's definitely a chance, and it is still a little bit warmer here than most places in December, like usual.
Yeah. So a couple things to prepare for, think about. And yeah, you always got to worry about what you're wearing too, because being outside, you never know.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm always envious of these indoor stadium reporters. You guys always know what your weather's going to be like.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a frozen tundra in the dome at all times.
Yes, that is true.
That is definitely something to keep in mind if you're ever coming here. But Casey, thank you so much for joining me and for all the insight on the Bucs, and looking forward to a good matchup this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me, and see you this weekend.
Now let's bring in our Senior Manager of Youth Football Development, Austin Pasco, who talks with St. Aug's Robert Valdez.
What's going on, everybody? It is Coach AP. We are back. That's right. We are back for the LHSAA playoff interviews, getting to know some coaches around this great state. I'm sitting here at St. Augustine High School with head coach Robert Valdez. Coach, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Just excited to still be in the hunt this late in the year.
Absolutely. So, look, we want to get to know you. I mean, look, you and I have known each other, going on now 6 years, going back to your time over at St. James. But, look, we want to get to know you, like I said. So how did you actually get into coaching?
It's funny. After I finished playing football at Southern University, gentleman Gerald Kimball was working at Southern Southern University Laboratory School. And so he was like, hey, man, would you mind coming out and helping out? And I'm like, okay, sure. And, I didn't know. I just, I knew I had another semester to go before I graduated. And so went out there and really, really fell in love with coaching, fell in love with the aspect of it. And so my coaching career really started at Southern Lab, basically volunteering. I think I only made like $250 like that year. So, and that's because he basically just gave me some money from time to time, just because I needed some money to eat. But my coaching career started at Southern University Lab, right before I graduated from Southern University.
And so through that, right, because, I mean, look, I've got to know you, and I love your coaching philosophies and different things like that, but you leave Southern, and then what's the next step in that? Because I know ultimately you end up coaching at St. James.
Yeah.
So that in-between stuff.
A lot of steps, man. It was a lot of steps, bro. We had, my wife, who was my, girlfriend, and we got engaged. We had a child, and I'm like, oh, I got to go make some money. So we both moved back to New Orleans, and we had our first daughter, Erin Valdez, and started working at Au Pair Walker High School. I worked at Au Pair Walker High School under Larry Favre, who was my coach in high school. He became the head coach by this time, and then spent a year there. Then Sean Preston, who was a teammate of mine at Southern University, was like, almost like he dared me. He said, man, are you afraid to leave New Orleans? I'm like, no. So I shunned a person who was very popular, Frank Wilson, and I told him that I was going to go to Thibodeau and go work with a former teammate of mine. So went to Thibodeau High School, worked there. While I was working there, I was supposed to get a job with Jabbar Jaloop when Jabbar Jaloop was at Carr, who was another teammate of mine. But then I got cold feet because we got pregnant with our second child and didn't feel like relocating family and all that. So I took a middle school job at West Thibodeau Middle School. And to this day, that was the most fun I ever had as a head coach. Like that was the most amazing time I ever had with those little guys. But then it started getting real. Went to East St. John. And worked at East St. John for a couple of years. Got my first head coaching job at McKinley High School in Baton Rouge. Left McKinley High School to become the athletic director, head football coach at West St. John High School. Was at West St. John High School for 7 years. The last 5 was state semifinals. The last 5 years, we went to at least the state semifinals, so state championship. Lost the state championship in 2011 to Washita Christian. Still hurts, Never got over that. Then I, because of some real strong friend connection, took the job at Scotlandville High School, and I was able to coach Levi Lewis, which was one of the most tremendous persons I ever met in my life. But it was hard because it was driving 106 miles a day in a Yukon XL, so it's putting gas in that thing. So this place called St. James High School was looking for a head coach, and I lived in Lutcher, so I took the job at St. James High School, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing opportunity. We built a brand new school. We coined the phrase "beautiful downtown Vacherie," which people are still trying to figure out where is that. That's the football stadium. In 2019, had the fortune to go 15-0 undefeated, win a state championship. Then kind of go through a self-discovery phase a little bit. I had a chance to speak at a coaching clinic at Grambling, and Hugh Jackson was there because he had just gotten a job. And after speaking, we talked about some things and whatnot. He was, and I was like, wow, this is a 30-plus year NFL veteran that sees value in me. So why not? Why not? Look into it. And I always had that itch. I wanted to see what it was like and whatnot. So Hugh Jackson gave me an opportunity to be the offensive line coach. So I was straight out of high school, offensive line coach for one of the most brilliant minds in the NFL. And I tell you, man, it was like I was so in over my head. I thought I was like, my head was going to blow up. It was so much information. Pro guys are crazy. I love them, but, so, Hugh and I developed a real good, close bond, man. And when he was let go, I was retained. But I just, my dad has prostate cancer, and he's doing well in remission, and got a grandson now. For all the right reasons, I just felt I needed to come back home, and then so entertained the possibility of East Ascension High School. Grateful to them, St. Aug had said, hey, let's talk, and went through an interview with St. Aug, and I was going to take the job at East Ascension.
Right.
And my wife hit me with a frying pan.
Right.
She really didn't. I'm sorry.
Right.
She didn't. And so, we took the St. Aug job, and here we are, second year, man. And, we so much support, from top to bottom. Everybody talks about alignment, but there's been so much support, and just really grateful to be where I'm at.
And so, look, you covered a lot right there, right? Yeah. I'm going to back up just a little bit.
Go ahead.
No.
You asked.
I know I did. But going back to St. James, when you won that state championship, what was that feeling like? Because, you're in a situation where it could be like that here at St. Aug.
Yeah.
But that state championship at St. James, because I've been in them sugarcane fields when we gave you Coach of the Week that year. Yeah. What was that feeling like?
It was, the crazy thing about it, I would always, people would ask, how was it, how was it? And I was like, I didn't feel validated to myself because I lost the state championship and I lost 4 states, and I felt like Marv Levy for a little bit, If you know, you know.
Oh, yeah. Where would you rather be?
So I didn't feel accomplished as a coach yet. And so I felt that it just wasn't going to happen. We work hard. We work hard. Sometimes we work a little bit too hard. So that year, it just happened. Things just happened. And I remember, which is still one of my favorite songs by Etta James, At Last. You know what I'm saying? So my wife knew about it, and so they played that song after we beat Union Parish in the semifinals. And I just think that, and I became such a good friend with Coach Rusty Phillips, the head coach at Jennings High School, because I just think that it didn't matter who we played that night, that our kids were ready to play, and it was just going to be like, man. So it was just such a gratifying moment, because that community had won it, and it took so long. It was a blue collar, hardworking community. So it was very, very gratifying feeling. More so just to see the reactions and the expressions and the tears of joy from everybody else, and then you're like, oh wow, this is nice.
But listen, you bring a state championship to St. James. You won Coach of the Year that year for the New Orleans Saints, and that's not the reason why we gave it to you.
No,
because we've got to know you. But the icing on the cake, I feel, because of who I am and everything like that, was Coach of the Year. Now, winning that, because there's only one guy that can win it each year,
right?
And you're that guy.
Right.
How did that feel?
Oh
winning
man,
that too?
That was amazing, because it was like, you were in the room with all these great guys and all these great coaches, and I tell people, there's no value, there's no real way to assess and measure how much these men work. Because everybody puts a lot of work in. They put so much time in. It takes time away from their families and all that. And that situation, it was like, oh, me, you know what I'm saying? And so, man, it was so good for my family and all that, and everything that came with it. You know what I'm saying? And me and Miss Leah, total fandom going to the whole the Pro Bowl experience when it was in Orlando, and we staying in the hotel with all these NFL stars and all that, and my wife's like, "Oh my God, that's Drew Brees, that's Lamar Jackson." I said, like, Leah, chill out, relax. You know what I'm saying? We gotta act like we belong here.
Oh man!
But it was great. It was just a great feeling, and like I said, and I think that, speaking for a lot of high school coaches, it really brought the kid out in me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how many people will say it I felt like a kid. I felt like a kid that went home and told his mom he got good grades. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, wow. So I was and I think that really, it put things into perspectives because of how proud your family and friends are of you.
And so, look, because me and you, we've got to know each other since that time and everything like that. But then I'm going to back up a little bit now, because 2 years ago, I see you at the state championship game in the Superdome. And I hear about the job at St. Aug being open. And you give me a smart. But then, because you leave Grambling and you come here.
Yeah, I had on a Grambling shirt. I was still working at Grambling.
Oh, I know you weren't. But I found it. I was like, he recruiting, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, no. From going from Grambling to coming to here, what was like that transition like? Because you go from being a head coach at St. James, winning a state championship, being a college coach, because you and I, we talked about it. Like you were probably on that trajectory of, potentially maybe being a college coach somewhere else as a head coach, but you decided to come back. And you decided to come to New Orleans and coach at St. Aug.
Right.
What was that whole transition like?
New Orleans is home.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time is that a lot of people come visit and have a good time and leave. But if you're from New Orleans, you find it hard to really not come back. And so I never was a head coach in New Orleans. I've always been a head coach in other areas. Even when I became an assistant coach at Grambling, the head coaching mentality never left. Remember, he used to tell me a couple of times, Coach Valdez, you're not the head coach. I'm like, yeah, I know, it sucks. Man, when and it was tough because, like I said, the East Central people were very, very good. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, the decision to be in a place where my wife went to McDonald 35. We're New Orleans people. We don't live in New Orleans, but we're New Orleans people. I'm here every weekend. My mom still lives in Algiers. But to me, the allure of the possibility and potential of a St. Augustine High School was very intriguing and exciting. So, get the job, and it's like, okay, and we wasn't at that time where we are now. So like, all right, you got to roll your sleeves up, got to go to work. We were in transition of facility improvements. You had to see through the muck.
Right.
You had to see through it
Right.
to understand it's going to happen. But at no point in time was the excitement not there. So, 50 years old, almost 50 years old, you get the job right before you turn 50, and it's still at 50 and 51, it still gives you the goosebumps and the chills, because it's like you get a chance to do what you love, and this is a great place, and if we can just only do the right things, then good things will happen.
No, look, I remember seeing you while you were at Grambling. I was like, dang, he got skinny. He went up there, and then he come back to New Orleans. You start eating again,
I have. Man, I tell you what, this place, I didn't know. I'm a West Bank kid, bro. I did not know you had so many doggone eating places in the 7th Ward in such proximity. Like, I have a problem. Hopefully, Triangle Deli gives me a doggone NIL deal, because I go every Monday to get them doggone red beans and rice. It's like unbelievable. Then if you want to go to Buttermilk Drop, you can get the breakfast. I mean, if you want to go to the Blue Store, if you want to go to all these places, you get in the car in 5 minutes, you can have damn near 1,000 options. And so my problem is that, when I was working in college, you had no time to eat.
Right.
The lifestyle of college coaches, and it's because you're sitting there meeting all day and you're watching film all day, and it's like you're incarcerated sometimes. That's why I have so much respect for college coaches. Never complain about the salaries these guys make, because there's always a trade-off. It's either life, family, time, or football. So if these guys getting all this money, man, that means they're sacrificing life, family, and everything else, because there's no value in time.
Right.
So, but when I get here, man, and I got lunch duty, and after lunch duty, I got like a little hour break, man, I'm going all over the place where I can go eat and come back in time for football. So, man, I'm put on about 20 pounds, at least 25.
It's just good seeing New Orleans back on it, man. But no, look, as we close up here, I know we got a few more things, but you've been here for 2 years now. You got your feet wet last year. Had a good year, but this year you're looking nice. You're in semifinals right now. But going to the beginning part of this year, what were your expectations going to year 2, being here and being a Purple Knight?
Honestly, I was scared. And it's crazy that what I'm about to say is because we only have 15 seniors. This year, we only have 15 seniors. On paper, it's only 15 seniors. And all 15 are not necessarily starters. So I knew coming in was going to be a young roster. I knew coming in there was going to be a lot of work that we needed to do at the line of scrimmage. I knew that we had some talent. I knew we had some athletes. I knew that we had some people, that we can playmakers. but I was really concerned, in the trenches, inexperience, because we had to lean on a lot of young guys. So it was a little scary because we go 7-5, and now I'm like, oh man, we gotta work. And so just was, and I think like everything else, fear drives you, because if you're afraid, you got to figure it out and work hard. So we just put our head down and went to work, and got a chance to develop these young kids, and they've just been great. They keep coming back. They just keep coming back. As bad as I could treat them, as hard as I work them and whatnot, they come back every day. And so it's just been such rewarding with our coaching staff, with everybody around, with the things that we have going on, just being able to have all hands on deck. And so the testament to the kids, the testament to the coaches, to the to our school administration, everything that we've done, it's just been good. So yeah, at the beginning of the season, me and my defensive line coach Matt Brown was talking about, man, January it was scary, because it was like, man, we have so much youth and we have so much lack of experience, but they allowed us to coach them, and they allowed us to work them hard, and they just believed in the process.
I mean, look, that process that brought you to the semifinal game and taking on John Curtis this Friday night. Talk to me, like, what is that going to take to win that final game, and maybe potentially, being a state championship game against like Edna Carr, you know what I mean? Like, what's it going to take to beat John Curtis this Friday night?
It's going to take tremendous amount of attention to details, and our effort has to surpass their effort. Because you got to, Coach J.T. Curtis has been doing this for longer than I've been living. He's got 28 state championships, and he's been here before. And, he pretty much knows how to handle these situations. We had a great opportunity in Week 10 when we got the best of them, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have those guys ready, just to they're like bloodshot eyes and whatnot to avenge that. But we have to go out there. We have to basically play mistake-free football. We have to play our game, but we have to play mistake-free football, and we have to match their physicality. We get to this point, there's really no secrets. We pretty much know what they're going to do. They know what we're going to do. Somebody has to execute at a high level, so if we can do that, then we've earned ourselves an extra week in this madness, because this is madness. I don't know. I tell the kids all the time, man, this stuff's not fun. It's not fun. It's work. It's stressful. You know what I'm saying? But no, we really have to go into this game with a heightened level of attention to details, because if not, then you get exposed.
Well, look, man, I mean, it's been a long journey this season. I mean, there's Friday night, and then, hey, who knows? You might be in the Superdome next week, you know what I mean, for a state championship game. You might be able to hold up another trophy and add it to your column.
I tell you what, man, just the opportunity to be able to get back to that game is enough to drive you and to motivate you. And, for us, it's recent, because everything that we're doing right now, we're writing recent history. Right. To tell our guys, we're not disrespectful to what's done in the past, but we have a chance to write our own history. So therefore, we get a chance to extend it to another chapter. So if we do what we're supposed to, if we, take care of business like we're supposed to, and we punch our ticket. We punch our ticket, and then we move into the next level of Jumanji or the Hunger Games or whatever this is. Like, there's 3 schools in our district still alive.
Right.
Like,
which is crazy.
It's like when does it stop? We're playing these people again.
Right.
Like, that's the reward. And then potentially, if you win and somebody else wins, you might see them again too. Like, golly, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's but it's fun. Really believe that we're a little bit ahead of the curve. So, we're here a little bit faster than anticipated. So we just got to take it and roll with it.
Well, Coach, man, I appreciate your time today. I know we crashed a party with some good food from Rouse's and everything like that, but got the kids fed. And look, we'll be tuning in Friday night, and like I said, maybe see you next Saturday or next Friday as well. Next Saturday. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys, man. Thank Rouse's, and thank them for coming in and being able to provide our kids with a good meal, and they get a chance. They're gonna eat again when they get home. These suckers eat, man. So. Thank everybody in the Saints organization, and like I said, we're grateful. And like I said, if I see you next Saturday, it means we had a good Friday this week.
We're looking forward to it, Coach. We appreciate it.
Appreciate all of our guests today and Austin for the interview from St. Aug's Robert Valdez. Looking forward to this weekend's game, 12 o'clock on CBS. You can catch the pregame show on the Saints website, neworleanssaints.com, or on YouTube, or at Saints on X. Starts at 11 Central with Scott Shanley and myself. We'll get you the latest on who is in and out for that matchup and everything that you need to know for the Saints to get a win. After the game, we'll be back on neworleanssaints.com and all of our social media platforms with the post-game show to break down the matchup. So I'll see you on Sunday. Thanks for listening and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.